Hello, all, and welcome back to another episode of TV and Us, a conversation show about the TV series we just can't stop talking about. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
And each season, we focus on a different show, reviewing it episode by episode, and we invite you to watch along with us. Right now, we are reviewing Marvel's Echo, and today we are on episode 3, titled Tuklo. If you haven't watched it yet, this is your spoiler. Please check it out before continuing to listen to the rest of this episode. All right, let's dive right in. Sarah, kick us off with an IMDb summary for Echo episode 3.
Maya learns the meaning of collateral damage when Fisk's army arrives in Tamaha.
All right. And in TV and Us tradition, we start off our episodes with our episode titles of choice. So, Sarah, what was your episode title? What would you name this?
My episode title is PAH.
Wait, P-A-H?
P-A-H. So that in sign language is a sound that you make that means something kind of like finally or success, at last, kind of that like, we did it. That is what PAH means. And that was one when she signed, finally, she said PAH, and that's what the subtitle said was PAH. So that is my choice for the episode title.
I love it. Nice. I'm intrigued to see if there's some meta meaning behind that for your thoughts about this episode, with it meaning finally.
We will see.
We shall see. My episode title of choice is one word: promises.
Nice.
Yeah, lots of promising happening in this episode.
Were promises kept? Were promises broken?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And for the ones that were broken, we're now making new ones that I don't know if we can keep. So we're set up for success.
Honestly, like, why do people do that? It's such a thing that you always see in TV and movies. People are just making promises left and right that they're never going to keep. Can we just stop with the promises? It's a lot.
Yeah, especially it's often done when someone's going off to do something very dangerous. They're like, I promise I'll come back. I think we can promise that we will try to come back. Yeah, you're going off to war, you're going off to battle, you're going off to do a heist, you're going off to do something extremely big and important, often the climax of the movie. And they're telling their family, loved one, I promise I'll be back for you. I don't know if we can keep that promise, people. I'm calling BS.
Yeah, we're just compounding trauma. Like, why are we doing that to folks? And just all you have to add in is try.
Yes.
That's it.
Small 3-letter word.
I promise I will try to come back to you. Like, okay, you can keep that promise. Anyway, whatever. It's fine. We're making promises in this show.
Lots of them.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right, let's dive into our thoughts about Echo episode 3. Was this a PAH episode for you? A PAH feeling episode?
No. I think that there's so much promise in this show. So I would like to share with you what my headcanon about this show to make myself feel better.
I'm so ready.
So we know that this show was originally supposed to be 6 episodes, and it was cut down to 5 for budget. And my theory is that Disney just got cheap. And this thing was actually supposed to be 6, like 50 to 60 minute episodes. And then because Disney got cheap, it was cut down to 5, like 35 to 50 minute episodes. So we're missing a lot of minutes of content that really would have rounded this thing out and would have made this as good as it could have and should have been. And I think I was just so frustrated while watching this episode because there's a lot of good things that happen, but it's all just too convenient and it's just too easy. I think there's not enough like obstacles and challenges in this for me. I mean, granted, she's zip tied and she's, captured and all of these things, but like she just gets out of them so easily. And so I want there to be a little bit more resistance, because I was never really scared for Maya. I was always like, no, she's going to get out of this. She's going to be fine. And then she gets her super duper powers. And so then she's extra fine. So I think if there had been more time allotted and more minutes allocated in this episode, i.e., they had a bigger budget, then this could have been structured a little bit differently to, I think, be more effective than it is. Because I think for me, I don't know, the whole like old timey opening and then like one emotional moment and then like one set piece is pretty much what we've gotten out of these last 2 episodes. And I just want something more from this show. And I think the characters are good enough, the story is good enough. There's a lot of good elements in this, but I just wish that they had more budget and more screen time to be able to fully flesh out these things. So that's my headcanon, is that it's Disney's fault. And if they hadn't been so cheap, then this show could have been as good as it should be.
Yeah, there's so much promise. Speaking of my episode title, there's so much promise for the show.
Yeah.
This is not working, man. I'm with you. I think your headcanon that makes me feel better too, because we always need a good scapegoat, when things are going wrong, and I would like to blame the big bad corporate America.
Yep.
I think that also just there's no character development happening at all for any of the characters, which is kind of a hard task to do. This is like when you're doing the multiple choice answers on a test. Like, okay, there's not a lot of great character development for some of the characters. That's fine. Maybe they're side characters, but even Maya, like we don't I don't know what her growth is. I don't know what her tension is. We don't know still much about her, and we are 3/5 of the way through this show. Nor do we really understand much of the choices that any of the other characters are making. The big one that I had big problems with is that all of a sudden Henry has offered to be on Maya's side in this impending war that's supposedly
Yeah.
happening between her and Fisk, which I'm like, how are we going to do a whole war in the next 2 episodes? I don't know. We shall see. That'll be a feat to be discovered, that they're going to pull off. But like, no understanding for why all of a sudden he changes sides. The only thing I can think of is that he's now seen her fight, because there's a couple of shots of him just like in awe, mouth agape, watching her fight, which I too was sitting in front of my screen, also mouth agape. There were some very good kills in there, but there's no reasoning, and I think it's played up to be this big moment of him finally shifting loyalties. But to be honest, we didn't really even understand where his loyalties were to begin with in this whole thing. It sounds like there's some like backstory and all this context and this backdrop of all of their relationships with Fisk and with each other. But I'm like, I feel like I'm missing so many puzzle pieces and am not piecing this together. So that one stands out to me as like such a blaring miss for that character's development. And I think it's kind of representative of the fact that the show doesn't seem to be interested in making these characters really interesting. Sometimes I think character development can be like maybe a little bit simplistic and a little thin, but at least there's something happening, some growth, some motivation. And I don't think that any of these characters have a clear sense of what they're trying to do and why. So I feel like that is really a big issue that the show doesn't seem to still be solving by episode 3 out of 5.
And I think what really just blows my mind is that we have 2 episodes left. One of them is 39 minutes, and the other one, I think, is 35 minutes. So we
Oh,
only have a little over an hour
oh,
left of
yeah.
this show.
Mm.
So, like if we had 2 full hours left or close to that, like, okay, maybe we can make something happen. But I'm like, really? You have like 70 something minutes
Yeah.
left.
Yeah.
I just and so that is why I have resorted to blaming Disney Death Star for ruining what could be a really good and interesting show, because there just isn't enough time to explore all of these things and explore these characters and her culture and her superpowers and this thing with Fisk, and there's too much going on to fit into this little screen time.
Yep. Yep. The classic case of trying to do too much, essentially. I mean, we spend
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
much screen time with that opening sequence, very resonant of silent era Hollywood, which is like I don't know, kind of interesting. I felt like, I mean, it didn't work for me personally. I felt like it was a little gimmicky, mostly because I was frustrated with the rest of the parts of the show. And so I'm like, why are we spending like at least 5 to 7 minutes on this? Like we don't even
Mhm.
feel invested in our
Yeah.
main character. Um, and so it felt a little just like showy and kind of cutesy and interesting that they're like trying to do something with this. I didn't understand that choice either. I'm curious your thoughts on that opening sequence.
Yeah, it didn't work for me. Again, like I think if this was a 50-minute episode, sure, spend 5 minutes on the silent film thing. But like you only have like 40 minutes or so. I don't remember how long this episode was. Like that's a lot of that episode's runtime to be spending on this chick. And I understand that, we're going kind of chronologically through time and showing how this superpower has showed up in these Native American women throughout time when they needed it the most. And so I'm like, okay, that's cool. And I do appreciate this like reminder that Native people have always been here and they have this rich culture and they've had to adapt to the times. And so I like what it's trying to do. I think it was too long for me and I wish that it had been cut down. There was another little piece of it that really bothered me and I might be the only one. But for most of the silent film, it's shot in that like square aspect ratio.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
as soon as she gets her superpowers, then it expands
Mhm.
and it's like normal aspect ratio. But we're still watching the silent
Mhm.
film and it ends with like the film reel business at the end. And
Yeah.
I was just like, I understand what you're doing. I get it. She got her superpowers. So everything expands and she is able to expand and she's able to take up more space. Like, I understand what you're doing, but like, it's also a little bit bothersome. But I might be the only one who is bothered.
Yeah, that specifically didn't bug me as much, but I think
Okay,
the
cool.
choice to make it look like silent era Hollywood, I was kind of rolling my eyes at, to be honest, because I just don't know, like that's that's cool that film history, but what purpose is it serving? You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel coherent with the rest of these opening sequences that are not shot in these different ways. So I don't if that was consistent across the previous two episodes, and so there's a kind of an interesting like thematic framing that's happening around, we're moving through generations as we move through different filmmaking eras too. Like I just like that could be interesting, but I don't get what we're trying to do here. Was this supposed to be something meaningful and profound? Because if so, I don't. It didn't click in my brain.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to show that like we're still in the history, but we've moved up in time. Cause like the first episode's opening was like the start of the native people. Second one was, I think, like 1200
Yeah.
AD. And then this is silent film era. So I'm assuming the next one we're going to jump forward in time even more and then even more. So I don't know. Maybe they'll do something like cutesy film wise in the opening of the next one. I guess we'll see. But that was kind of how I made sense of it instead of just being like a cutesy thing. Like, oh, okay, you're showing that we have moved forward in time. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah. But we're going backwards in time when it comes to this filmmaking style because we start with like massive amounts of CGI and then we go towards like like color and now we're going, silent era, black and white, like I don't the timelines are wonky. If you start with silent era and move through film styles visually and we're moving through time, through generations, like okay, that's kind of cool, but it was just weird. That's my review
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah. That's fair.
Okay, what else happens in this episode? We've got some Fisk finally. Finally, barely.
Mhm. Yep. What did you think of his return to the screen?
um Once again, I'm like, we have 2 episodes to explore this relationship. My thought related to the way they are handling the Fisk presence and storyline in this is that in the trailer of the show, he is littered throughout. And so it feels really interesting to me that the trailer sets him up to be pretty involved in the show. And like so far, he's been basically absent. And he's only really maybe in the last 2 episodes in a significant way. So I feel that mismatch happening as we're traversing through the show because so much of the trailer is centered around this complex uncle niece closeness, but also kind of using each other relationship that these 2 humans have, which honestly, if the show just focused on that for 5 episodes, that is fascinating enough. um so I feel that dissonance between the way we're primed for this and then what's actually unfolding. I do think that the way that they've teed up the last shot, the last couple of minutes of this episode, I would think that we're now really going to see this reckoning and happen between the 2 of them. And I hope that gets interesting. It just feels really, really dang late.
Mhm. Yeah, it really does. And again, if this was longer, I think it could
Mm-hmm.
have worked too. The way uh that they're all let go,
Yeah.
Zane lets them all go,
Mm-hmm.
and that the only person that could call him off is Kingpin. And like again, if this was a longer episode, you would have that happen. And so then she is sitting with that truth for longer, that and trying to go about her day, or having to like solve another thing with this like lingering like, oh my gosh, I didn't kill him, and then he shows up at the end and it's really like terrifying. Like, I don't know, I feel like if there had been more time between that call with Zane and then him showing up, that could have been way more intense and way more exciting too, to finally see him on screen, because he's been this like looming presence over the episode, and now we finally see him. But it was just kind of like, oh, he let him go, clearly Kingpin's running the show, and then like 3 minutes later, I don't know, it might have been more, then he shows up. So I think again, like the pacing is just a little bit off because the episodes are so short.
Yeah, no, that's true. That could have been interesting if this was like a 10 episode season and we also didn't get as much of those Fisk scenes in episode 1. So they really like give us a
Yeah.
little like crumb and we have all this like contextual knowledge about what's happened between the 2 of them under the assumption that he's dead, and that grand reveal would be great. It would be the Rogue One effect where Darth Vader doesn't show up until the last like 20 minutes and it's so epic. That is a fabulous moment. He just comes slashing through the hallway. That would be great. And there's all this suspense and kind of tension brimming that finally bubbles over. That would be really fun. But you would also, yeah, need that runway of 7 more episodes to unfold.
Yeah. I think we just don't have enough time with these characters and with the story to really explore these things, to create those setups and those payoffs like you really want to experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In a way, there does seem to be too many characters and too many relationships that this very short series is trying to explore. One of the things that was a little underwhelming was the kind of Bonnie and Maya reunion moment and what went down between them. They've been kind of teasing and building towards over the past 2 episodes. And when we finally find it out, I don't know. I kind of expected it to feel a little bit more significant in this either like rift between them or something that went down or one of them thought the other betrayed each other, but it was a little bit like lackluster and just in comparison to how much suspense had been built up by like all of the other characters, by Chula, by Henry over the past 2 episodes. You expected I expected it to be a more dramatic, beef that they have between each other. And the other interesting thing is that that gets kind of resolved a little bit faster than I expected too. Like all of
Mm-hmm.
a sudden they're
Yeah.
just back together again and all is forgiven. So that felt so insignificant. Like the wind really left the sails on that whole tension.
Yeah. I don't know. I was ready to be underwhelmed.
You
Uh
were better prepared.
I don't know. I just even with cuz they were making such a big deal about it and I was like that's probably something didn't go down between them. Probably it's just they drifted apart and Maya shut her out like she shut everybody else out and that caused the rift and so they're both hurt. Like I don't know, I was just like I'm ready to be underwhelmed by whatever this reveal is. So, but again, why are we making such a big deal out of Bonnie when she shows up and then they're not like fine, but they're okay enough to go their separate ways and make false promises again, as one does. Uh but like did we need that in this show? Like is Bonnie going to show up in the next 2 episodes and be pivotal enough to explain like why she was absolutely needed in this? Could we have
Mhm.
removed this character and maybe spend a little bit more time on say Henry, who is
Yeah.
absolutely pivotal to this since he's in business with Fisk?
Yep. Yep. And then you can really focus on that trio's dynamics, this war, how Henry may be changing sides is the thing that turns the tide of this battle between them because he offers some key piece of information. And I don't know. Yeah, that would have been great. Too many characters. Too many characters. There's a whole scene with I mean, Chula's great and I think is an interesting part of this family and their history and what went down between them. But there's like so much screen time dedicated to like Chula and Scully having a whole conversation. And there's that whole backstory around her mother dying and some of the ways that Chula's still holding on to her pride or not kind of opening up those pathways, which again would be great to explore. But we don't have time. We just don't have time. And that in of itself is a whole nother thread. And we're just kind of bouncing between these feeling significant moments and details, but like they don't all together amount to anything. Had all of these individual things been strung together in some way where they kind of are impacting the different dynamics between all of them, that would be great. But that also requires like some really really great storytelling and screenwriting skills to weave that together really well. And I don't think that this show is doing it.
Yeah, I like Chula as well. And I think they're going to tie her in with the superpower stuff, that Maya needs to come to her to learn about her superpowers, and then Chula's going to explain it, and then they're going to be fine and, rift mended, everyone's healed and happy and has
Mm-hmm.
superpowers now. But again, like there's 2 episodes left. Like, how are we going to do that while also trying to take over Fisk's empire? I don't know. We have run out of runway for this particular plane to take off. And
Yeah.
yeah,
But
I'm not
we
sure
are
how they're going to
now
do it.
sitting here by the runway with our little beach chairs. Just we're gonna see what's gonna unfold. It's gonna be a show.
Hmm.
It's gonna be
Yep.
an entertaining experience, one way or another, just to see how they're gonna do this, how they're gonna land this plane.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
We will see. We will find out.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that you bring up an interesting point too, which is she's still hasn't really unlocked the powers yet. So there's that whole thread line that needs to grow and evolve. And then the war technically hasn't really started yet. I mean, it's the inciting incident of the war, but the war hasn't started yet. So are we going to conclude said war, or are we just going to start the war and then end the episode in some way? I'm just curious to see if this ties in with some other shows. That's my other like Disney Death Star hypothesis, is that they need to set up other plot lines to intersect somewhere down the line, and I don't know why, and that might be informing why some of these choices are being made in this way, because they're kind of laying foundations for more things. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be. I don't know either. I am not that well versed in Disney to be able to make an informed decision about this, but
Yeah.
it's plausible because we know how all of the Marvel movies worked and how they all intersected. We know that Echo is an offshoot of Hawkeye and ties into the Netflix Daredevil show.
Right.
So, I mean, it stands to reason that this would also connect to maybe some other shows that are in development.
Right. Right. Whenever there's a character where you're like, why are you here really? And then you're like, you know, 2 years later, you're like, oh, because there's a whole dedicated movie for you. Right.
Mhm.
That makes
Yep.
sense. I see that now, but you were real random in that other thing I was watching. uh, yeah. Okay. Other things that we want to talk about with episode 3?
I think something else that bothered me about this episode, while we're just airing our grievances,
Yes.
is that this this episode happens to Maya. And as we've said 800 times already, there are only 5 episodes of this show.
Uh-huh.
And so to have an entire episode dedicated to something happening to her that is not in furtherance of her plan
Yeah.
is a bold choice. Like I feel like you could have had this fight in the roller rink for some other reason. It didn't need to be her being taken hostage.
Mm.
It could have been something further her larger plan. Because again, the previous episode ended with her saying, "Hey, I have a strategy. I got
Oh,
this."
yeah. I
And
forgot
then the
about
next thing that we see is her being captured and having to be uncaptured
Yeah.
for an entire episode.
Yeah.
And so then that sets us back. Like, so in episode 4, are we going to finally learn what her strategy is? It's, again, I just think it's mispaced and
Mm-hmm.
mistimed, especially because you only have 5 episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. This should have happened in episode 2. We could just nix the whole
Mm-hmm.
train scene, put this in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, buy
Yep.
us a whole nother episode of Runway. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe combine them. So, like, the
Yes,
explosion happens in the beginning, and then as a result, she's kidnapped. And then,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
That would work.
Mm-hmm. Okay, there was one moment that I really thought was great, and I wanted
Yes.
something to celebrate. It's when Bonnie walks into the roller rink, and Henry has to basically pretend to tell her to leave in some way because he's being held hostage. And they sign to each other as they're having this whole other separate conversation with their voices. And I thought that was such a great little moment for whoever, like, I just imagine some kids somewhere watching this being like, that's so cool. Like, they have this whole language that they can use that has like helped them communicate and kind of thwart the powers that be around them that are listening to one part of their conversation that only they can understand through voice, and they have this ability that they share together, kind of like a secret language that they can communicate with. And I thought that was such a great way to weave in kind of them using these superpowers, their version of superpowers, for good, and kind of a leg up that they have on everybody else. I thought that was such a really cool moment, and really great to showcase all of the different ways that we communicate and some of the ways that they come in handy sometimes. Really positions that idea of, we call them disabilities, but actually they have superpowers that have been created as a result of not being able to do something else that other folks can do. So I thought that was a really great way to like weave that into the plot line too, to see how they like weasel their way out of this tough situation.
Yeah. And also just the benefit of being bilingual. Like
Yeah.
it's so helpful to know how to speak another language,
Hmm.
so to speak. Yeah, no, I loved that. I loved that so much. That was so good. And even I don't know, even when Maya is her hands are behind her back, I almost expected her to like sign something to Henry
Yeah.
when her hands were tied together, but she didn't.
Hmm.
And so it's little things like that that I'm like, oh, what is going on here? I feel like we had like a couple of missed opportunities there,
Mm.
but that was a great moment. And I I really liked Alakwa Cox's performance in this yet again, especially in the fight scenes, like you
Yeah.
mentioned earlier. She's so good in this.
Mhm.
She just dominated that skating rink. She
Yeah.
is incredible. And to see an actress who is so good physically and in the fighting scenes, but then also can act
Mhm.
at the same time is just so impressive. You don't always get to see that combination, and so she's killing it in this, and I
Mhm.
think she is the bright spot of this show for sure.
Yeah, she really is. And that's, I think, what makes it extra frustrating, because you're like, y'all need to do better because Alako Quox deserves better. Like you've got all the pieces there. You're set up for success. You just gotta carry it through, you know? Um, yeah, she's great in it. Best part of the show by far.
I think I'm gonna go back to grievances. I'm sorry.
Okay.
um I think that this show also doesn't know what it wants to be, especially in that roller rink fight scene, because it was positioned as this like grittier Marvel show. And then there are certain moments in that fight scene where it's like, no, this is a little tame. But then you get when Zane shot that dude in the face, and you get to see his full bloodied dead face and blood spurting out of him and stuff. So we go from like tame kid Marvel fights in some parts to like full on blood grit. And it just felt like this weird like mix match to me that I wasn't, it didn't feel like a cohesive unit to me. It felt like this show doesn't really know what it wants to be, and so it's trying to be gritty but isn't quite sure how to be gritty all the time. I don't know. So I liked portions of the fight scene, but I think, I don't know, it felt kind of incohesive to me.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't know what it wants to be, and kind of tonally is mixing many things. It's almost like it doesn't know how to get out of, just commit to the full grit. Still got that like marble, feel good, showy stuff going on, that we see in most of the other movies. So it's kind of like straddling these two worlds. Yeah. It is kind of funky.
But it is kind of fun to imagine what beating up a bunch of dudes in a kid's skate rink would be like. Like that's super fun. I love that.
That was
But
great.
I wish that portions of it was just a little bit better.
No, that was great. It reminded me a lot of John Wick, and just the creative
Yeah.
kills that they can come up with all
Hmm.
kinds of objects and things. It's really quite fun. Well, shall we go to some awards?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. First category is achievement in superheroing. Who gets this one and for what moment?
Uh, I'm gonna give it to Maya. Uh, like the Boy Scouts, I think that a superhero should always be prepared, and she just happened to pack her retractable knife
That's
in
great.
her shoe,
That's
and I
really
think that
great.
that's great.
Yes. That was really fun. That was really fun. That was a
Yeah.
candidate for mine as well. Just weasels her way out, a little blade action going on the tippy toes. Really good.
Yeah, it's great.
My choice is for Maya as well, and it's for her kills with ski balls and arcade gun wires. It's really fun.
Love it.
It was really great.
Yeah, those moments were so great. Though I'm like, how did you get those fake guns out of that machine like that? But she has super duper powers,
Right.
so it's no big deal.
Because, yeah, her hands just are magical all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Okay. Next category is achievement in grit. Who or which moment is getting this award?
I would like to give it to Kingpin for traveling so far with such a serious injury. Like, he was in New York, and I don't think they're in New York.
No, they're in Oklahoma.
So they're in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So that is a little ways to travel. And if you just got shot in the eyeball, I would imagine that is not a pleasant experience. So he had to travel for hours like that just so he could have his dramatic reveal.
In a suit too. That's
yeah.
some dedication to the moment. It's a great moment.
Got to be on brand, you know?
Yeah. My choice is I'm giving the Achievement in Grit Award to Zane for all of his villainous facial expressions. Every scene, he's just like, I'm big and bad, and I need you to know it.
Honestly, he annoyed the crap out of me. I hated every time he was on the screen. I was like, you are a caricature, and I need you to go away.
It really is.
But you're right. His facial expressions let you know that he is trying his best to be gritty.
Yeah. He's big and bad.
Absolutely.
All right. Next category is achievement in words, aka the best line of dialogue. Who gets this award and for which line?
Okay. Can I take us on a real quick detour on the words?
Let's go.
So there were a couple of times where there was a line that reminded me of something completely different. And that's always fun. So in the annoying silent film opening, one of the little cards says, "A trap." And I immediately thought of Admiral Akbar from Star Wars. And I thought that he would be so proud that somebody else has carried on the legacy of saying, "It's a trap." So just wanted to give that shout out to Admiral Akbar.
I'm so glad that you found a way to entertain yourself during this episode.
I did.
Oh, he is well pleased.
So
in another galaxy,
another
far away.
Yes.
What is another? Yeah. What's the next one?
Another one. This was said by Zane, I think. He yells for some reason, "Boys, pivot." And that made me think of the Friends episode where they're trying to move a couch in, I think, the stairwell or something. And Ross just keeps yelling "pivot." And so that's all that I could see after that point in time was just Ross yelling "pivot."
I'm sure that was Zane's intended choice as these men are carrying out this very gritty mission.
Because pivoting is very gritty.
Oh, it is. Especially when you're moving a couch in New York City apartments.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, I'm saying that will take some grit. Like,
it really does.
You have to be
You know what I learned?
You have to be tough.
I learned that there is a whole service for the residents of New York City called a couch doctor that you can call when your couch is not fitting through your stairwell, through your apartment door, and they will take apart your couch and bring it in piece by piece into your apartment and put it back together again. Because the stairwells are so narrow. Yeah, so when in doubt, call the couch doctor for all your needs.
That is incredible. I love that. Thank you for sharing that fun fact.
Yeah. I thought it was fascinating. Only New York things, you know.
Oh, I love it. That's so
Uh,
good. Okay, so thank you for indulging me on my little detour.
that was great.
Okay, so I would like to give this award to Maya
Okay.
for the text message XO Maya that she sends to the bad guy with the picture of her captor that she has subdued. I loved it. It was short, sweet, and to the point, and also hilarious, all in one.
The photo is like black and white, looking real epic too.
It's
You know,
so
you have to
good.
put a filter on that to be like, it's got to look real, real epic, real gritty.
Absolutely. Yeah. Branding. Hello.
Yeah, she's got similar ideas to Carrie Mulligan's character in Promising Young Woman. Just love the dramatic texts. Create a moment
Yeah.
for your foes.
Hey, yeah, it's effective.
My award for achievement awards is going to Zane. Oh, Zane. Well, he's getting many of the awards from me tonight, but it's for his line when he says to his boys, "When the gig's all done, ring pops on me." And I
Yeah,
would be
that
willing
was
to
my
work
runner
for ring
up.
pops. I would be willing to work for ring pops. They're so fun. So good. I think
It's
he points
amazing.
specifically to his pinky though, which is also just
Yeah,
interesting. Uh,
because that's your smallest finger. So
mm,
that's where your ring pop will be able to fit, because the like ring part of a ring pop is tiny.
it is.
So it's not going to fit on any of the
Mm,
other fingers.
yeah. What a man of details. It's really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's important.
All right, looking ahead, what do you want to see in the next 2 episodes?
Okay. I would like to see Kingpin, and
Yeah.
I would like to see him talking and showing his personality, because he has been shot in the eyeball. Presumably, I mean, I'm not a doctor. I don't know how things work, but presumably, the force of a gun would create some sort of brain damage. I would assume. I could be wrong. I don't know. So, my hypothesis, no, it's not a hypothesis. My crazy theory that this show will not do, but I think would be funny, so I want to share it, is that Maya shot him in the eyeball, damaged his like temporal lobe, which alters his personality, and then he becomes like a really nice guy. And so in effect, she really did kill Kingpin without actually killing him, and so then that just kind of ends, and voila, everyone's happy.
See, that they could tackle in 2 episodes, each 35 minutes long. That is
Right?
that is
Yeah.
a runway that they can handle.
Yeah. It's achievable. It's not what they're going to do, but it would be funny.
All of a sudden he becomes like Uncle Danny, Uncle Jesse, just like the warmest uncle
Yeah.
figure ever to my Oh
Yeah,
wow.
he's so benevolent and kind. He dismantles his empire and gives it all to
Right.
charity or something, you know?
Yeah. But he still loves the suits. Still loves the suits. That part of the brain did not get
Absolutely.
destroyed. It's part of the
Yeah.
brand. We got to uphold that. Yes.
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 You got to be looking good.
Hmm.
Maybe he won't wear like the white suits.
Oh,
Maybe he'll
yes.
still wear a suit, but it'll be a different color.
Mm. Yeah, I think he's wearing a dark blue
I
suit.
think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The signs are there. I think your theory is coming to fruition.
I
Had a change of
highly
heart.
doubt it, but I think that would be hilarious if that's what they do.
Yeah.
And doable in 2 episodes.
Very doable. Very doable.
But regardless, looking forward to more Kingpin. I want to hear him talk. I want to hear him do some stuff. He's such a fun character, so electric on screen. So I am looking forward to more of him.
Yep. That was the only thing I wrote down is just Kingpin. That's all I want. That's all I want.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have been led astray by this trailer that has so much There's more Kingpin in that 3-minute, 2-minute trailer than there is in the entire 3 episodes of the show so far. And I have some questions. I have qualms with it. So yes, we want to see Kingpin. I would like to see some like inner tension and turmoil for Maya, because like he's this uncle figure, but then he's not, and then she's trying to take him over. Like we need some Maya character moments too. I think that'd be really fun. And then I would like to know why Henry has changed sides, but I don't think the show's going to explain that. We have moved on past that, and I don't think we will be getting more information. I just have so many questions.
Yeah, me too. I also want to see Maya's strategic plan. You know,
Yeah,
you
see, I
can't
forgot she had a
tease
plan.
out, right? Like,
Like,
you can't tease that out and say, like, hey, I have a plan. And then you never show me the plan.
yeah,
I'm ready. I
yeah.
want it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also want to know what Henry is going to bring to the table now that he's helping her. Because, like, we know he's into some stuff and he has, he's a serial entrepreneur and is doing all kinds of
Oh,
stuff. But,
great.
like,
Yeah.
what does Henry really bring to this mission? So that is what I want
We
to
don't
see. That's
know.
what I want to know. I'm like interrogating Henry. Like, why do you want to work with her? Why should we hire you for this position? Tell me more, please.
What do you really bring to the team? Yeah, this is like Danny Ocean going to collect the team. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
what skill do you have that we need? Oh, you're really
Yeah.
flexible and you can like dangle yourself into a vault in a casino. Great. We can use. I don't know. I really feel like we get a lot of Henry, but we don't really know him. I don't feel like I know who
Yes.
Henry is. What is he about?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why
We
does his
see a
skill
lot of
change so
Henry.
much? That's not a good character trait in general. So
Yeah, we see him, but he's mostly just reacting to Maya and what she's done.
yeah.
And so, like, we know that he has businesses. We know that he's kind of like a serious guy. We know that he's a good friend.
Yeah.
But, like, we don't know about Henry.
Yeah.
And he seems to be kind of an important character, but
Mm-hmm.
is unknowable.
Yep. There's so many characters in the show. Biscuits? No
There are.
biscuits. Is Biscuits coming back? I don't know. But he gets a lot of screen time in
Mm.
episode 2. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
why did we introduce Biscuits?
I mean, honestly, the
Biscuits.
name, solid.
He
And he
was
has a dog named Billy Jack, and that's also great.
He does. He does indeed. Okay, any other last thoughts about episode 3 before we wrap up?
Yeah, I am just ready to see what happens next.
Yeah. We're just here
How are they going to do this?
chilling by the side of the tarmac with our beach chairs. We've got a big glass of lemonade, some nice drink, something to enjoy, some snacks, and we're gonna watch this show unfold.
Mm-hmm. Sure will. 2 episodes left.
Yep.
Here we go. We're ready.
All right. Well, this was our review and discussion of episode 3. You can find it available on Hulu and Disney Plus. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of TV and Us. Our name sums it up. We're big fans of TV and the powerful ways we can connect with each other and the world around us. This podcast is about all of us and our shared stories, so everyone is welcome here, and we're so glad you spent time with us today as we continued our journey through Echo. You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you tune into your favorite shows. Drop us a rating and review, letting us know your thoughts about episode 3. You can connect with us on Instagram and Twitter at TVNSPod, or email us at tvnspod@gmail.com. We will be back next week to discuss episode 4. We hope you have an amazing week, and we'll talk again soon.